If you would turn in your Bibles, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 through 17. Notice here the word of the Lord. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Now this King James word here, circumspectly. Circum means around. Spec means to look. Circumspectly means walking, looking around, so that you're not just with tunnel vision and you ignore people that are around you that have needs and hurts. There are people all around you that are going through things. He says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not just trying to get to your goal and your target, but there are some people that are around you. Sometimes your ministry is not what's ahead of you. Your ministry is right what's at hand around you. See that you walk circumspectly, being aware of your environment, not as fools, but as wise folks who are circumspect. They look around, circumspect, redeeming the time because the days are evil. I want you to notice that in the English Standard Version, it says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And then I like to couple that with another scripture in Psalm 90 and verse 12 that says, so teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. That we might apply our hearts to wisdom. Teach us, God, to number our days so that we get the most out of our days. And so I'm talking today from the subject, and the beat goes on. And the beat goes on. Because life has a rhythm. It has a cadence. From the time that you're born, the heart starts pumping, starts beating, and it just goes and moves, and the beat goes on. And your heart will be pumping. Things will go wrong in school. You'll get bullied. You'll fail some stuff. You'll mess up, make bad choices. But the beat goes on. And just remember that failure is an event and not a person. You'll live beyond the failure because the beat goes on. And even if a marriage messes up, the beat goes on. If somebody walks out of your life, what you gonna do? Crawl up on the rock and die? The beat goes on. Your mama dies. Your daddy dies. Your brother dies. Your sister dies. Your son and daughter die. The beat still goes on, and the beat goes on. You lose a job. The beat goes on. You got to live. You got to eat. The beat goes on. A friend walks out of your life. Somebody betrays you. And the beat goes on. You get turned down for a loan. But the beat goes on. You can't stop living because something goes wrong. And the beat, it just goes on. There's a beat. There's a rhythm of life. It has a cadence. And God set this thing in motion. He's a rhythmic God. And I'm telling you, the earth is his footstool. And when Paul was in jail and they started singing the jailhouse rock, God started tapping to the footstool and shook every man's bands loose. Because the beat goes on. You can be on lockdown and God's still beating, still keeping his cadence, still letting things move on, because you got to keep on moving because the beat goes on. You've heard me say before that we get old too quick and wise too late. It's amazing. Dr. Seuss, you know, the animated character, said, how did it get so late so soon? It's night before it's afternoon. December's here before it's June. My goodness, how the time has flown. How did it get so late so soon? It's amazing. But there's something about time. Time is a very unique resource. Invisible, unalterable, unstoppable. I would rather somebody waste my money than waste my time. You can make more money, but you can't get any more time. So you got to be able to make the most of it. And this is all that this passage is talking about here in Ephesians. It says redeeming the time, making the most of the time because the days are evil. Making the most of the time. Can you imagine, just try to imagine a life without timekeeping. Let's try to imagine a life without timekeeping. You probably can't. Because everything that we do with a measure of a month or a year or a day of the week, an hour of the day. If we said, meet me for lunch, what time? You see, time is a marker for events. If nothing is going on, you don't know what time it is. That's why when people retire and they don't have to be anywhere, they don't know what day of the week it is.
Is it Friday? What day is it?
But we are such time-conscious human beings, you know, that we got clocks everywhere. There's a clock on your wall. There's a clock on your wrist. There's a clock on the dashboard of the car. There's a clock on the oven. There's a clock on the computer. There's a clock on the TV. There's a clock on the phone. There's a clock on the iPad. There's a clock on the tablet. There's a clock everywhere. You got a schedule here. You got a calendar there. You got a time set for a dinner and a movie. There's always timekeeping. But yet all around us in nature, timekeeping is ignored. You ever seen a snail with a watch? Birds are not late. Anybody that's raised around chickens, you don't have to set an alarm for a chicken to get up. A dog doesn't check its watch. Bears don't set an alarm for when it's time to come out of hibernation. Fish don't program themselves to have a reminder so that they can wake up for their feedings. And deer do not fret over passing birthdays. Can you imagine a turtle getting upset because somebody didn't remember his birthday? I mean, only human beings are so time conscious. About to lose our mind because you're a certain age and you haven't married yet. About to lose your mind because you're a certain age and hadn't had a baby. And the beat goes on. Is anything too hard for God? If God has to step into your life like an Elizabeth or like a Sarah, don't ever count yourself out because you've been looking at your wristwatch instead of the timing of the Lord. It's amazing. Man alone measures time. Man alone measures time. And because of this, man alone suffers all of the paralyzing fear that no other creature endures. It is a fear of running out of time. Can you imagine getting to a place in life and then you wonder, where has all of the time gone? Where? Have you ever noticed that time flies when you're doing something that you love to do? You just wonder, where did the time go? But when you're at work, you ever notice like the last hour when it's time, you be looking, people start cleaning up 45 minutes before it's time to get off. Straighten up, they be getting ready, fixing to go. They've already checked out mentally, long before they clock out. You just start getting ready to go because we're so time conscious. But see, with all of nature and season regulates all of the other animals. They have no sense of the stress that is created by our time restraints and demands. Time is a concept that we have invented to measure and to record moments to help give us our experience with our surroundings context. You see, life is a collection of moments. It's a collection of moments. For God's sake, don't live your life by the routine of just getting up, going to bed, and doing the same old every day, because that is not memorable. You don't remember routine. What you remember is the special time that we went out. I remember the time that my husband fixed this and he did that, and I was so shocked. It is when you break the routine. Life is so boring, so dull, so insipid, so tasteless, so mundane, unless you do something that creates a moment. Get away from the routine. And if you don't, and I'm not saying that you have to break the bank, but get a blanket and fix some sandwiches and go out on the lawn somewhere and have a picnic and create a moment. Do something out of the ordinary that you don't do all of the time, because when you reflect back on particular things, it'll be those moments that sometimes seemed bizarre, that sometimes seemed extraordinary, that sometimes seemed sacrificial. Those are the things that you remember. It's when you create a moment. It is out of the ordinary, the mundane, and the commonness of your life. But let me just say that things don't just happen because we want them to. They happen because we schedule them. You have to schedule what you want to happen. Nothing happens until you schedule it. Nothing happens until you schedule it. You have to schedule things to happen. My husband don't ever take me out. Schedule it. Put it in a schedule. Make a schedule to do something on Friday night. Schedule it. Nothing happens unless you schedule it to happen. Yeah, we ought to get together. Schedule it. You're not just going to get together. You have to schedule it. When you schedule it, you set it in the agenda that this is going to happen at a set time. See, write the vision and make it plain, for the vision is for an appointed. God schedules the time ahead of time. He schedules it. Things don't just happen themselves. You have to schedule that thing to happen. God schedules to show up. God schedules to deliver you. He's got a timing for it. A tree brings forth its fruit in its season, right at the right time. In the right time, in the right place. God has a timing. He talked about it in Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. There's a season and a time. God's got a time. And if you miss this spring, there's another spring coming, because the beat goes on. It goes on. It goes on. Everyone has the same amount of time in a day. Doesn't matter. Kings don't get any more time. They got the same 24 hours. Presidents have got the same 24 hours. CEOs, chairman of the board, they got the same amount of time. Yet the results of the productivity in people's lives, it varies drastically. But why? It's because what you do differently makes you different. It's not because of your last name. It's not because of what you say. It's not even because of what you pray. It's because of what you do differently that makes you different. If you want something that you've never had, you've got to do something that you've never done. It's about what you do differently. What is it that you're going to do differently that's going to make a change in your world? There has to be something that is set in the routine of your life that you are willing to do regularly that's going to produce the change in your life. There must be repetition before there's a reputation. Nobody gets a reputation for doing something just one time. You get a reputation by what you frequently do. If you always telling lies, you get a reputation as a liar real quick. If you're always late, you know, when people say, say, oh, they're going to be late. You didn't develop a reputation for being late by doing it one time. It's because you are habitually late. And so there must be repetition before there is a reputation. And my question to you is, what kind of reputation is your routine creating? What kind of reputation is your routine creating? Because it's what you do by routine, by repetition, that creates your reputation. I love something that Henry Ford said. He said, "It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste." And you got to be able to be determined to get ahead while other folks are wasting it. The movers and shakers of this world get up early in the morning. Don't lay in the bed all day. If you really want to get ahead in life, you got to fall out of love with your pillow. Anytime you find people that sleep too much, it's a sign of depression. Oh, God. But you ought to realize that as long as I'm here, the beat is going on. You know, I know some negative stuff has happened, but I still got to live. I got to go on. It doesn't matter about who broke up with you. I meant cry hard, but don't cry long. I mean, cry, get it out of your system. I understand it hurts. Cry hard, but don't cry long. You know why? You all are so brilliant, perceptive, prophetic. I love it. The beat goes on. Don't let anything stop your beat. Don't let anybody cause you to miss a beat just because they walked out of your life. If somebody has the ability to walk out of your life, it means that they were not critical to your destiny. Because God's not going to He's not going to put your destiny in the hands of another two-legged human being who is egotistical and jealous and controlling. Oh, God. And so if you trust God, if you put your trust in God, what God has assigned for you, I mean, there's a time that thing is going to come forth in your life, and nothing can stop it. If you just trust in the Lord, if you trust and obey, trust and obey, trust and obey. Touch your neighbor, say trust and obey. But remember that when you do not live with an organized system of thought, you waste incredible time. When you do not live with an organized system of thought, you waste incredible time. Get in the habit of putting your keys in the same place so you don't have to go on a witch hunt every time you're looking for your key. Organized system of thought.
Well, where did I put my shoes? Where are my glasses? Anybody seen my glasses?
When you do not live with an organized system of thought, you waste incredible time. Success is in the system, but the devil lives in the detail. Success is in the system. You got to get a system. If you ever get a system, if you ever take the time to build a system, you will simplify your life. Success is in the system. It's in the system. It is in the system. And you've got to be able to develop a system that winning is a system. It's not just a happenstance, it's a system. That's how you can do it consistently. That's the difference between an amateur and a professional. An amateur can do it one time, but the professional has consistency. It's the difference between an amateur and a professional. It's consistency. And so it takes it where you have developed the system. You've got to have a system. Success is in the system. Touch your neighbor and say, success is in the system. But you can't ignore details. Because if you've got a great system, it's because somebody has paid great attention to detail. Great attention to detail. Now, this thing that's talked about, for want of a nail. For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a horse was lost. For want of a horse, a rider was lost. For want of a rider, a message was lost. For want of a message, a battle was lost. For want of a battle, a kingdom was lost. All for the want of a horseshoe nail. Just because of a little detail. And you might think, what is this little shoe nail? It's a little detail, but a little thing can become a big thing. But it's to teach us that if you take care of the small problems, they won't grow into big problems. Don't just watch something that's leaking and say, I'm going to get that fixed one day. And if you keep ignoring it while it's small, it's going to be a big expense. If you keep ignoring this thing that's going on in your body while it's small, one day you're going to go and it's going to be an advanced stage. You can't ignore the small stuff. If you take care of it while it's small, you'll keep it from getting big. And so remember, the devil lives in the detail. You got to learn how to deal with the details. The thing that catch people is the stuff that's in the fine print. You all see this stuff, you know, when they advertise and stuff that sounds too good to be true, look in the fine print. Because the devil lives in the detail. He's got all the stuff that's going to get you tricked up in the detail. That's why we have to hire attorneys to read the detail of the fine print, because that's where they have all of the exclusions and the stuff that's where the catch is. It's in the fine print. But you have to learn how to take care of how you use seconds, and then your days will be productive. Jesus understood this principle. That's why he talked about it in St. John chapter 9 and verse 4 when he said, I must work the works of him that has sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. No one can work. So there's certain things that you have to learn how to do right at the moment. You have to learn how to do it while you can see it, while you've got the vision to do it, while you've got the energy to do it, What happens, one of the worst things to do is to get old and not have the energy to do what's in your heart. That's why you got to run while you got the time to do it, while you've got the energy to do it. You got to do certain things while you've got time and energy. Time and energy are two of your greatest commodities. Time and energy. Time and energy. And it is so interesting to me that those who make the worst use of their time are the first one to complain of its shortness. So amazing. William Penn put it this way. He says, time is what we want most, but what we use worst. It's what we want most and what we use worst. There's so many people, as the older you get, the more you want years peeled back off of you. You do understand that. Some of you are not old enough to understand it yet. But the older that you get, the more you want your years peeled back. But you and I, we must each live off of 86,400 seconds a day, 1,440 minutes, or 24 hours each day. That's 168 hours a week, approximately 720 hours a month, 8,640 hours per year, 177,800 hours over the next 20 years. And it's about 691,200 in a lifetime if a person lives to be 80 years old. And no matter who you are, your progress and your success in life will depend more than any other factor on how you invest the 24 hours that you're blessed with each day. How you handle your time. That's all that he's telling us here in Ephesians. Redeeming the time, making the most of your time, making the most of your time. And understand that the intent of time management is not simply to speed it up, but it is to enhance the quality of your life. It is to enhance the productivity of your life, and it is designed to enhance the balance of your life. When you're able to manage your time well, it's for quality, productivity, and the balance of your life. Like the anonymous poet wrote when he said, I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. And you don't ever know how long you even have on the earth, because every one of these steps that you take, it has a number taking you closer to your grave.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for